Welcome. My name is G. You're watching All Astrology, and we're going to talk about November's new moon. There's already videos out for the new moon. There's also the November readings. So if you don't know, what this is going to be about for you personally, you would be smart to go and watch your rising sign video, your sign video. Okay, so this video is going to be the deep dive, right? We're going to show the chart and we're going to walk through it. I'm going to draw some lines here and there, and hopefully that helps to make things a little bit easier to understand. For those of you who have a chart and who follow along at home, if you've got your own chart, go get it, come on back, and we'll go through this together. Press pause, and I'll be here when you get back. I'm going to draw some lines, like I mentioned, because I think the line drawing helps a lot. Yeah, there I am. Okay. And it's doing the lasso today for some reason. So that's all good. All right. So what we're doing is we're looking for the new moon. Now we know a new moon is when the sun and the moon are together. Okay. That's a new moon. The date on this, if I didn't say it already, is November 23rd, 2022. It's a new moon, so it's 4:57 p.m. for those of you who are looking to make plans for your future. And I say future because Sagittarius energy is all about the future. It's known to be like the sage, but the person who can be quite prophetic. They can see into the future. And many times we do it and we don't even recognize we're doing it. It's just like information comes in and we're just talking, we're sharing, and it just kind of pours out, right? So that's Sagittarian energy. Yeah. And here's my arrow that I'm going to draw for you. Right to the new moon. See that? You've got the sun at 1 degrees and 37 minutes. And you also have the moon at 1 degrees and 37 minutes. Crazy, right? The sun and the moon together at 1:37. So now Sagittarius energy, again, those videos, I talked a lot about them. A quick refresher. Sagittarius is our beliefs. It's about freedom. It's my philosophy on life. Okay. Sagittarius is how we get the big picture, right? It's like structures of society, but how those different structures in society, how they interconnect and then how they work together and create like a system. So Sagittarius, Jupiter as its ruler, it gets the big picture because it's like the forest, it's way above all the trees. So it doesn't just focus on the one tree. Actually, that's not its strength. Its strength is to see all the trees in the forest. Hence, it sees the forest, right? So seeing the bigger picture, the ability to back up, to go up high. So yes, Sag is known to be in the plane and to go for a ride, right? To go far away and long distances. So sometimes we definitely connect Sagittarian energy with travel because it's all about seeking. It's searching, right? It's the seeker, the searcher. And it's looking for wisdom and knowledge, right? It wants to explore, but explore for the understanding, the wisdom, the understanding, to understand itself even better. But it does that by connecting with other people, with new experiences, with different. So if it's like, if I haven't done this, if I haven't been there, it's time. Because when I go there and it's culture energy. Think of Sagittarian. It's going and either being the foreigner or going, meeting foreigners or speaking a different language, studying a different language, even because this is the house of higher learning. Sagittarius energy, going to college or, extended education in some form. It's also the judicial system. And I think judicial system is important to understand because we're seeing a lot worldwide happening, a lot of different things happening where people, lots of sort of revolutionary type of energies where it's like, you know what, no more. This is what I want. This is my freedom. And I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to stand up for it. And so we're seeing this all over the place, right? So that's all Sag. And look at all the stuff in Sagittarius. You see this? Right. The moon, the sun. We have Vulcan here, which is all about the material and the tangible, the 3D, but then how we can incorporate spirituality into 3D, which is fascinating because Sagittarian energy is also, religion and spirituality. We also have Venus here. And we also have Mercury here. So we have the sisters here in Sagittarius energy. We also have Hygeia, which is our health. So when we say it's our health, it's the health of what? Because it's in Sag, it's the health, our spiritual health, but it's also the health of our judicial system, the health of our beliefs, the health of our freedoms, the health of our higher education. And those would be, the higher educators, right? It's also publishing. Yeah. The freedom. So we think of all of our different freedoms, freedom of religion, freedom of free speech. We think of all those different keywords, but the judicial system in general. So it's like judges, because that's Jupiter, right? And the judicial system in terms of like the Supreme Court, even. Now, this video is to take a look at where all the other things are at this time. And we're going to start by looking at Mars. Always, that's me, go to Mars, right? So there's Mars. Mars is in Gemini, and it will be here until March of 2023. Mars is all about taking action, but because it's in Gemini, it's with words. It's the way I communicate and talk and think. And when we think of people connected with Mars or connected with Gemini energy, it's like your local community, right? Where you live, the merchants, the shoppers, the stores that you go into. It's your local community around you. Okay. Now, it's also like neighbor energy, which makes sense, right? Local community and neighbors. So it's literally the next door neighbor. But it can also be like people who are in your immediate environment, right? So it can be like siblings and peers, schoolmates, classmates, coworker energy. Okay. So some may say, hey, this is a sign of these are my friends. And you could liken this to the sign of friends. Okay. People that you're talking to and chatting with. Gemini can be a bit gossipy, right? So as can Sagittarius energy. They can both take on a gossipy, because it's all about talking and communication. And I just want to share information, right? Being in Mars being there, it wants to be the first to share that information, right? It's going to take action. It's really powerful and assertive, because this Mars, as you see, is in red, so it's retrograding. Red is retrograde. And so anytime we see that, it adds to the intensity of Mars and what it's taking action with, the way that it's communicating, right? Now, we have to keep our mind on the Gemini theme here, because this is social media. Think about how we share information. Back in the days, it simply used to be news and radio, the television and the newspapers. And that was pretty much it. And then it's taken on a whole nother level when the internet became about, right? And so now we've got all these different social platforms. So Mars retrograding, social platforms, you probably know where I'm going with that, with different sites, right, that you've got on your phone. One in particular begins with a T. And so some of the stuff that's happening there, Mars is typically considered a malefic planet, which means where it travels and what it does, it can be stuff. It's not so beautiful. It's not so great. It's harsh. It's aggressive even. So that can be like, ouch, for some people, right? Especially those who are, I don't know, in charge, right? Because this is kind of like Mars is the soldier. So it's just like, yeah, you try to force me to do something, or you give me an order that I don't think is, is fair, or that is very businesslike or professional. It's going to be a problem. Okay. So having this here, having Mars, it will be here, remember, until March of 2023. And so that's important, because Mars is going to go all the way back to 8 degrees, right? It's going to go over here. Let me go like this. It's going to go over here to like 8 degrees, and then it'll stand still and it'll go forward again, and it'll go back, to the degree that it's at now, basically. So whatever we're experiencing, whatever we're talking about and hearing about, especially in terms of social media, it's a great, it's just a good reminder to understand there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts. And because it's Gemini, it's about choices and options. So in other words, there needs to be choices and options. And if we're not given choices and options, well, then people are probably going to take actions, because there's so much strength here for allowing flexibility and options and choices. And Mars remember, it's about your physical body, but it's not just about the physical body, but the actions. So your digital actions, right? And your digital neighbors. Like I have a digital neighbor I heard from today who was like, I haven't heard from you in 4 days, because like it was like a YouTube neighbor basically. And so they were just expressing their concern, thinking something was up or something was wrong or whatever. And there was a glitch. Basically, there was something turned off, and so we were kind of blocked from each other. So instead of it escalating and being like, "Oh, well, so and so's not talking to me," or "So and so's not responding to me," the person thankfully just reached out. Went to my email, was just like, "Hey, what's going on? Hopefully everything's okay. I don't know what's going on with you, but on my end, this is what happened," and blah, 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 blah. And so that's Mars. Like things can happen, and we can either immediately be like, okay, something's going on and I don't know what it is, and be impatient, because Mars is impatient. It can make a rash decision because it's in Gemini, decisions, choices, options. It would be quick to judge. Absolutely. Mars and Gemini, quick to judge against neighbors and people online for sure. So we're just keeping all these things in the back of our head so that we can have some understanding, because what else is going on? We're looking at Jupiter. Jupiter is here at 2847. This is, November. Jupiter 2847, it's still going backwards. It will stop at 28 degrees and then it'll go forward again, but it's in Pisces energy. And the reason I bring this up is because Pisces can make things cloudy. They can make your vision fuzzy, so like my one friend said, I went and I pressed a button and I accidentally hit multiple buttons. I got big fingers and I hit multiple buttons, and I didn't realize it till a few days later that I had pressed the wrong button. So it blurs our vision, literally. All right. And here's the thing. All of Pisces energy sends a square to Gemini energy. All right. It squares it. It's a red line. You see this red line in the fine print here? I don't know if you can see that, but see all those squares? Because it blurs the communications. It can make communications disappear, right? So if somebody has, whether they've blocked somebody or I don't know. I don't know what all. I swear to God, I don't go on any other social sites. Like I just don't. I don't have time for it, right? I thought I could do it, but between YouTube and creating content and doing readings, like I just don't have. Oh, and then of course, editing. How could I forget, right? And then the nightmare with tech in general, like all that consumes all of my time. So Pisces squares Gemini all the time. So having Neptune and Jupiter there increases waters. What does that mean? Well, Piscean waters are like murky. Like we can't see through them. You dive into that murky water and you're down there and you just it's dirty, right? You can't, it's not like, oh, look how clean and clear that is. No, not the Piscean waters. Its whole purpose is to make things look different, to make things confusing, to blur the lines of reality, right? That is Pisces' job. And its goal is to get us to teach us how to see clearly, how to not make quick judgments, how to have some patience, how to use time to our advantage to get to the truth of something, right? And to not act too fast, to not be rash in our judgments. And I keep saying, I guess, judgments. It's been coming up a lot tonight because of Mars in Gemini. And the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. Why is that important? Let me draw a fresh line. That's important because whenever you have two energies that are alike, when they run along the same line of energy, I'll say it like that, which is Gemini and Sag, when they run along the same line of energy, think about this. For us as human beings, whether you are a birthday Sag or a Gemini birthday, it doesn't matter, because we all have all of these we all have every sign in our chart, in your birth chart. A birth chart has every sign in that chart is you. It's you, whether you want to own it or not, it's you. So the point of all that is to say that we all have Gemini energy somewhere in our life. We all have Sagittarius energy in our life. And so Sagittarius is unconscious judgments, right? Talking, talking about people, talking about neighbors. We have certain things that we're saying about somebody, and we do it, and we think it's just that we're having conversations without understanding. um, there's a fine line between sharing information and literally gossiping or just making crap up and exaggerating to kind of be fun and entertaining. Sagittarius energy, it is inclined to do that, whether it knows it or not. It is because one of its rulers is Jupiter, and Jupiter tends to dramatize things. It tends to expand upon things, meaning exaggerate and makes it bigger than it really is. But because it's Sag, a fire sign, it's really it borders on that line. Think of the fire sign before Sag, Leo, right? And what does Leo like to do? Laugh and have fun. And so Sag is kind of taking a little bit of a cue, I'll say, from Leo energy. It's saying, oh, but how can we have fun with this, right? Like this is for jokes and laughs, right? Not recognizing that the sarcasm and the jokes and the laughter, depending upon who's listening to that, we have to be really careful now because it can be very damaging in the online atmosphere. You could have some very naive person come along and read something. I mean, think about this. All the comments, right, are very much public. They're just out there for anybody to read. And so somebody comes along, they're reading it, and they're like, oh my God, this person is so mean, not recognizing who that person is, that they're just a sarcastic person, right? And they really do it just for jokes. It's not to be mean necessarily. But when it's taken out of the context, right, which isn't very hard to do online, it's really easy and it can happen really fast. So what else do we see? Saturn. Saturn is in air. You see the air sign? It's the Aquarian energy. It's group energy. Remember, Saturn is our responsibilities and rules. Okay. Now this is Saturn's been hanging around, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 degrees for a while, for about a year. And the thing about Saturn is that it it does angle, the fixed signs. So it's sending square stress and tension energy to Taurus energy and Scorpio energy. Okay. It's stress and tension. Now remember, Saturn is responsibilities and rules. All right. So if you're feeling like, there's just like all these rules and you feel like you got to get away, like your individuality is being squashed literally, that's because Aquarius is our independence and our freedom. But more importantly, our uniqueness, how we stand out from the crowd, And so Saturn being there, especially through the pandemic, a lot of folks felt like their independence and their uniqueness and, like was just being completely, like their flame was being snubbed out. Right. So it makes it difficult to feel free when that happens, when our creative forms of expression or our creative intellectual ways of being and thinking, Aquarius energy, high intellect, creative intellect, like thinking outside of the boxes. It's a phenomenal energy. Science and medicine and astrology, astronomy, like, rocket scientist energy, Aquarius energy, really awesome energy. So for the new moon, okay, new moon's a time of setting goals and putting them down on paper. And these can be personal goals. They don't have to be things for the whole world to know about. But in Sag, just keep in mind that it has so much to do with your future. You're thinking about your future. You're making plans for your future, and having Venus and Mercury here is going to help. But just keep in mind that Mars is at the very opposite end of a lot of that energy, right? And it's at the opposite end right now, in particular on the 23rd, right? Of our health, the health of our beliefs, the health of our judicial system, because it's Hygeia at 19 degrees. And see, Mars being in red, it means that Mars is going to go backwards even more. So if it goes backwards even more, it'll be an exact tight opposition with Hygeia at 19. Remember, it goes all the way back to 8 degrees in Gemini. So what that's going to tell us is that we're going to likely be hearing things with the judicial system. So whether it's the Supreme Court, and I'm speaking obviously for the United States, I can't, talk about other countries' governments. I'm not I'm not versed enough to know anything about anything else, so forgive me. But in general, if you think about, the astrology, this is this is global. This is global. So for wherever you live, yeah, it seems as though when we look at the world and the state of events that are going on, whether it's the war, just a lot of different political things that I think we're witnessing, right? Actions that supposedly aren't political, but they sure look like they're political, especially the timing of certain events and certain announcements, right? Can you read between the lines here? So when Mars gets opposing Hygeia, we're likely going to hear something we're likely gonna hear something, and it might not be that day, of course, because Mars isn't exactly at 19 yet, but look, if Mercury is here at 10 and Venus is at 9, they're becoming very closely tight-knit to each other, so yeah, this is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. There might be something that we hear about, right? There might be something on the radar, something big, something that might be involved with the government, even. Very good possibility because Pluto is still here in Capricorn, and it's gonna, you see Pluto is moving direct already. Yeah, Pluto's not going retro anymore, so it's moving forward, and you see something on this day. Look at something's actually at 27 degrees, and that item that's at 27 degrees, that's actually the part of fortune at 27, and so that sits right on the United States natal Pluto. So it's business and government, big businesses, big government, um, just something occurring, and likely some sort of additional announcements even. And then look exactly across from Pluto, go to the sign of Cancer, we have Pallas Athena opposing Pluto. You see that? Pallas Athena. And so this is the public. This is also a feminine energy. Cancer is women and feminine energy. It could be men involved, but it's just strong feminine energy. And so Pallas Athena is all about um, someone who is kind of like a general in an army. They're the strategist. They're a creative thinker. They plan. It's the person who can pull out the map and who's just like, okay, this is the plan. They can see far away, they can see close up, they can see the details, but they're a thinker. And so Cancer energy is home and family. Let's Cancer keywords, home and family, but it is the public. Keep that in mind. It is the public, right? So this is the new moon for Sagittarius. It's all Sagittarius keywords, folks. Think of what you can for Sagittarius. Put some keywords in down below. If you think I've missed any, let me know. If you don't know and you want to know more about this in your chart and how the new moon may apply to your life, just put some comments below the video. And yeah, we'll have a little homework for G to do for the Thanksgiving, right, and Black Friday and all that, because I will not be out shopping. So good luck to any of you who plan on doing all that craziness. I don't know how all that works anymore, but yeah, stay safe. Remember Mars and Gemini retrograding. Just be smart, just be cautious, and yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Bye bye.